Good morning. Quick update from last Monday's January 11th council meeting. First thing we had was a big public hearing, and I absolutely love public hearings when the public shows up. This one was about the Spitzy Crossing area and the Highwood Ranch development, which is kind of the first phase of development that's going in on the Spitzy Crossing. And what they're looking at doing is rezoning the land from, I think it's urban reserve right now, just to get the housing zoning in it. The reason why there are so many people there is there are a few changes on the density components of it and where they actually fit in exactly to that development compared to what the original area structure plan said. So there are some changes there, and we're being very, very careful with how that piece of land is being developed. The other portion of it that came up was the fact that we know how close this thing is coming to the boundary of the flood of 13. We will have nothing to do with putting this and putting this community in any new housing areas where they should not be. There's been a lot of engineering and a lot of mapping being done on the flood boundaries and what happened in 2013 and where this development is going to be allowed to start. It has to be built up, and all the protection measures have to be built up to what we currently have with the other berms and dikes around. That being said, this development is just fine. It's not in any area that was covered in water, and we move along and don't make the same mistakes we did in the past. I still have a lot of questions on the engineering of a couple of pieces that the guys are putting together for us right now. So second, third, final reading will be in place in the next few weeks here, and we'll go from there. But public hearings are extremely important, and I want to make sure that everybody knows this. There's a reason we have public hearings, and that is so that the public can come and have their say publicly. It's not, it's hard for the public sometimes with the way that we are legislated as to how we put our meetings together and how things are done. Public hearings are the places where you can actually come and tell council your, give us your two bits on what you feel about things. So show up to public hearings. That's what they're there for. So the fact that the room was absolutely packed right up until the public hearing ended, and then it was a ghost town and nothing but crickets chirping for the rest of the actual council meeting. But that's kind of funny to me, and it's kind of whatever. I get it. People are focused on what affects them, and that's perfectly fine. So public hearings, very important. Then we went into the actual council meeting. The first one was a delegation from Mr. Ryan Woodward. He is going to play baseball in Cuba on the Cuba Goodwill Tour. And he was just asking for council support and sponsorship. So we sponsored him $500 towards his, I think it's $2,500 of travel expenses. So this is great. And the fact that a young kid came to council and presented in front of council and asking for this was very impressive to us, and we all also thank him for actually sitting through that whole public hearing that was about an hour and a half. So much thanks, Ryan, for your patience in going through that, and good luck on your little tour there. Next one, we had a delegation from Romy, Honorio on the Birchwood Garden. They own a lot kind of just on the north end, right at the gates of Rio Vista on the west side of the road there, that they want to turn into a bit of a community garden, and he had lots of ideas. So he was basically just coming and showing us their ideas as to how they would turn that into, and it kind of become part of Birchwood Park a little bit. So I love the idea, and anything that can be more community oriented, and if somebody wants to do that with the private lot they own, I'm all for that, but we have to be very careful as to you know, exactly how it's zoned and what it's used for and who can go in there. It's got to be public for everybody and everything else. So lots of work to do on this one thing, but it was very, very impressive what they were bringing to us. So the next one was our annual borrowing bylaw. We just continued on with the one we had last year. So we still have a borrowing bylaw in place for $8 million, and the reason for that is we still have a lot of projects on the go where cash flow requirements, whether it's with building berms or dikes or finishing downtown or anything else that's going on. We still have a lot of recovery things that are happening in 2016. So we have to have enough money available to make those payments to people while we, the payments from the Alberta government come back to us. So it's just a cash flow thing. Once that's gone, our borrowing bylaw will go back down to a normal thing of between $1 and $3 million. I think it's pretty low. So authorizing supplementary assessments was the next thing we did, and basically this is home tax assessments and assessed values, and it just allows our assessors to go into a property if there's been a major reno or it's a new home, that we can assess those properties and tax them accordingly for that. So that's all that was, basically a housekeeping thing. However, Centennial Library request to change the name. Basically all it is taking the word Centennial out of it, so it's just High River Library, and we approved that going forward. High River Regional Airport, proposed improvement. There's a 13 stall airplane lot that's going out there. It's an outdoor lot. This is something that the airport board brought to us. They're all for it. The MD is on board with it, therefore we're going to be on board with it too. So everything's just fine there. And also the High River Regional Airport lease agreement renewal. This was a lease agreement for those that own or that have hangars out there that lease the property from the town and the MD to actually have an extended lease now, I think for another 25 years if I remember right, or because there's been a couple of instances where they were going to lease property but the leaseor was not happy that the new lease hadn't been renewed, so we renewed the lease, so they're good to go out there. 2 thumbs up. So the next one was a member-at-large appointment for the High River District Recreation Board, and this was Mr. Brad Seacott, who everybody in town knows and knows how valuable he is to absolutely everything he puts his hand on. So thanks very much, Brad, for stepping up and putting your hand up to get involved with this. That's a great committee they've got going on over there, and they've got a lot of action items on the go that's very impressive right now. So that's about it. Pretty short, concise. There we go. You know how to get a hold of us if you've got questions. Thanks very much. Talk to you.